grass coming out as melon, pushing up. Welcome back to In the Gap, the Valorant edition. I'm NaoriMizuki, otherwise known as Sam, and I'm going to be your host as per usual. I hope you're not sick of me just yet. Joining me once again, who would have thunk it, is our analyst Neo. How are you doing?
Hey, how's it going? I'm doing good. I'm glad to be back again. We've got a fantastic show lined up for you, hopefully. And for those that don't know me, I'm Naokai. Call me Neo. Absolutely happy to. And I'm a CSGO and Valorant color caster, analyst, whatever you want to call it.
So what you're saying is you're the big brain.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the 300 IQ. I'll let the aim heads go forward, and I'm the one behind the scenes thinking the plans.
Well, we're going to put that to the test in just a minute. And as usual, we have a guest joining us today. And today, we're going to have Felente. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks. I don't know. I'm doing amazing. I got to go outside for the first time in I don't know how many months today. So I'm doing great, actually.
Why? Who goes outside? There are people out there.
I know.
All right. Before we jump into the action of the show, just a little bit about In the Gap. This is the recap show bringing you the best action in the gap between all of our weekly events. We aim to get through everything within about 10 minutes, but as always, bear with us. We might not stick to that time limit. And at the same time, we're going to be bringing you informational tips and tricks with some well-known guests to help you grind out a little bit better. So I'm looking forward to this next edition. I also want to just say to those that celebrated a happy Easter, I hope you all had way too much chocolate and are now rolling around in your living rooms. I know I certainly am. I had to roll myself onto the couch for this episode. Anyways, let's move straight into our clip segment of the show. Let's have a look at our very first clip.
Yeah, so I picked a few decent ones, and this one, it's a simple reason why. I'll just let you see why, essentially. Oh, look at this. It's just Ethan making his way up, and just the most ridiculous reaction time. 100 Thieves, Ethan making his transition from CSGO to Valorant, obviously quite successfully.
I love watching Ethan play. Like, it's I always see him watching a one angle, and then he flicks over to another angle and just one taps him. Or two players see. Like, I love watching Ethan. I love that he switched over.
He plays that support role really well, I think. He did the same in CSGO. I've quite a supportive player who had that ability, just all out and out frag. And I mean, we see it there, right? Making the rounds work in his favor, and hence why he's had such a successful transition over towards Valorant.
He's really started to come into his own since joining 100 Thieves. I know there were a lot of people really excited to see him making the transition, and it's definitely starting to pay dividends. So
for sure.
Really glad to see that that's working out. Let's hop on over to our second clip and see what have you got cooking up for us.
Yeah, it's easy where things spice up a little bit. So this was kind of the big upset, right? It was BBG versus Sentinels, and Poach doing a very good job of doing the one key thing you need in a 1v4 situation. Isolate the fights. Picks up the first two quite nicely, isolates the fight, and then plays around the box, gets the shot through the box, and Zombs. I mean, what do you do against that?
And interestingly enough, it seemed to me he wasn't even aiming there. It was just one of those like crazy big brain plays of just, I'm going to shoot through this box, and it works out.
Exactly.
And Poach is relatively new on the roster.
Yeah, he's a bit of a new and upcomer.
Yeah, he's doing a lot for the roster already.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Sentinels, huge, right? To take down them, that is a big result.
They played it really well. Like, I haven't watched the entire series of that game yet, of PBG. I'm really going to watch it and go in depth with it because of I can remember their Killjoy main. He has some crazy setups. And they really knew how to shut down Sentinels, and they took both maps like 13-5.
Yeah, it was quite significant. But the biggest thing there, right, was the isolation of fights. A lot of people in that 1 versus 4 situation, they overextend too much. He played things slow. He perfectly placed himself in every angle that he was only taking on one person. Therefore, he had an opportunity to 1v1, and he backed his aim every time. It was brilliant stuff.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for the second clip. I believe we've got a third one, so we're just going to show that to you guys as well.
And of course, well, This one, FaZe versus V1. And the FaZe roster had a bit of mixed results, but there's a few brilliant moments in this one. And in particular, it's a FaZe baby Bay who's been putting up some pretty notable performances, entry fragging in the best way possible. Just pure out-and-out aim. The ace to finish it off as well. Just ridiculously quick. And you talk about hardcore entries, right? That is how you entry a site. Completely opposite what we saw last clip, right? No isolation of fight, just the purest raw aim from FaZe Baby Bay there, and just ridiculous ace. What a way to open up the site and take the round single-handedly as well. No utility, just aim.
That is kind of summing up the NA scene, right? Like no utility, just taking the aim fights and raw going in there. Yes.
Exactly. You know what? If it works, it works. We saw it with FaZe. We saw it with 100 Thieves. I mean, this is becoming kind of a trend. Get in, get explosive. Even version 1 have started to play that similar style. I mean, they kind of beat FaZe at their own game. So, of course, they're going to be in the closed this weekend. All right. So that's going to wrap up our third clip. We've got a fourth one, believe it or not. Let's roll it.
So this one's not the same. There's a reason why I've picked this, and especially because we have a lovely esteemed guest here who is a Cypher main. Look at this. What? How overpowered is this? So this was found on Twitter, a user by Don Hatchie. Anyone in the CSGO scene knows who this man is, and he's kind of making this transition as well with his Twitter account over towards Valorant, right? But this is so broken. What you can do with this camera is unreal, right? You can just keep there so much information we gain. You can see over to the left-hand side if they're going over towards that C bomb site and locking down mid. It's ridiculously overpowered. And the fact that that is a thing that you can essentially do any way you want to me, it's just ridiculous and insanely overpowered.
Can you shoot it?
You can, but I mean, you can't see it, right? Who's going to be looking in the middle of mid in the sky? It's not an angle you're going to clear, especially when you have B site right in front of you. That'll be where your hard focus is. You'll be tunnel vision onto B site. So I just think that camera has so many possibilities, and I'm 99% sure it'll be patched within like 2 days. But just a ridiculous talking point I wanted to bring up.
I need to try it out. Definitely, I need to see how that works.
It's insane. So that came out last night. So I reckon it's still going now. I mean, obviously by the time this episode comes out, maybe not. But I mean, if you're jumping on stream later, Felente, you could actually probably get that working and just dumpster people because they have no idea where you're getting this information from.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try that out.
Yeah.
Okay, don't encourage that, you people. That's crazy. And that actually reminds me of like back in the beta when we saw the like craziest cypher cam positions that would get stuck in walls and
unshootable, exactly.
You couldn't shoot them,
you could drop your pistol to it, so you would just drop your sheriff to it and it would shoot for you.
Oh yeah.
That wasn't even in beta, that was on live. That was just a few months ago. Just crazy cypher cam bugs. But thankfully they do get patched out slowly but surely.
Yeah, for sure.
That's going to wrap up our clip section. So we're going to move into the section where we talk a little bit to our guest. Felente, tell us a little bit more about yourself. Who are you? What's your background? Why do we care?
Why do you care? I don't know. Maybe it's my sex appeal. No.
Right. I quit.
Alright, I'm finding you a host, Amal.
It's got that Thor hair going though. I'm a big fan already.
I'm your new Project Gap host. I'm Felente. I was a former CSGO player. Now I'm switched over to Valorant. And now I just took over the Project Gap hosting position, apparently.
Okay, nice try, buddy.
No, I'm Felente. I used to play Counter-Strike on a higher level on the Danish scene. And I think it was 2 years ago I quit because the Danish scene is just so deep and you will always have to compete with 12-year-olds in Denmark.
It's ridiculous.
We have school that's just dedicated for younger children to come up. So I was getting up in the age, and when you kind of get up there and you see the 16-year-olds, you're getting bashed by 16-year-olds. It's kind of hurt your ego a bit. So I tried out other games, but nothing really sticked. I tried Apex and Rainbow Six Siege even, and got to the higher rank in those games, but it wasn't as fun as Counter-Strike. And then Valorant came out, and as soon as it came out, I was watching so many streams just to get the beta key. and try my luck in Valorant.
God, I remember that.
Yeah, it was in the middle of lockdown, so I was actually just sitting up all night just watching Valorant.
I think everyone can relate, right? Having 20 tabs
Yeah.
open, every streamer in the closed beta just
Even
waiting
though
for
it was
that
like
key.
pointless.
Yeah,
Yes,
the best thing as
yeah.
well, exclamation mark drop. You could just type that in and everyone will fall for it.
God.
Oh, I miss the days.
Exclamation mark key.
Yeah, I miss the days.
I
Yeah,
was
even,
one of those ones that had the tab open, and then like if you mute the stream, you don't count as a viewer. But if you
Yeah.
mute the tab, you
Exactly.
still count as a viewer.
I
So
was
I
there.
had the tabs muted, and I was like watching like Netflix and whatever,
Yeah.
but I would have the tab. Jeez, those are the days. But you competed in CS:GO as well, and I would imagine that the competitive scenes would be fairly similar, given that the games are fairly similar. What would you say about that? Do you think it's similar, or is there a big difference?
They're kind of similar, but I think the biggest difference in the scene is that it's mainly older people in Valorant right now. Like, it is like you see it on 100 Thieves and stuff like, and you see it like
CS:GO
it's
retirement home.
yeah, it's right now it's actually just CS:GO retirement home, but the scene will develop. Like, if you get in a few years when you have a person who only played Valorant, he will be so much better than everybody else who would switch over from their main game to try out a new game. So they are fairly similar, but I think Valorant can be more competitive in the long run than CS can, and I'm purely thinking about because it's a Riot game, and if you look at League of Legends and how they did it with that. So I think they're very similar in a way, but Valorant will be better.
What's interesting that I've noted is that a lot of the players that have started playing Valorant come from various backgrounds, as is what happens when you have a brand new game. We saw it with Apex, and we're seeing it now again with Valorant. You've got Apex players, CS players, Overwatch players, Rainbow Six Siege players, Paladins players.
Yeah.
Like, people from all different games have come together. Now, I know that you specifically come from CS, but you said you dabbled in a couple of other games as well. Which game do you think gives the biggest competitive advantage if you're coming over from a previous game?
I think it's CS. I think it's either CS or Overwatch. CS, it's mainly because you have all the mechanics. You don't need to learn how to counter strafe, how to stop and shoot, or how spray patterns work. You know all this from Counter Strike, so you just kind of need to learn the abilities. Where from Overwatch, you only need to learn how to shoot, and that's kind of
Is that all?
only. Yeah, you also need to learn the abilities, but you kind of have that from Overwatch, right? Like you know abilities and how abilities work and how they can help you progress to your goal in the game. So I think those two games are kind of the biggest advantage if you come from either one of them.
Okay. Now, I know that you do some streaming and you've done a little bit of competitive play as well. Can we expect to see you in any upcoming EU challenges matches, or are you going to be focusing more on streaming?
No, I am competing. Me and my team, we're trying to compete in VCT, but we're still getting together, learning defaults, and getting the strats down and stuff. So we're not expecting to go very far in VCT. We're just mainly doing it for the experience. And then after the break I think the break is in July or something. There's no VCT for a month there. Then we hope to go further there. And then in the weekends I stream, but they're switching the schedules around a lot for VCT. Like they pushed it up a month, and now they're putting the stage 2 week 2 on Saturday instead of a Tuesday as they used to. So it's getting harder for me to find time to stream when I have school and practice. But normally it's in the weekend where I put up some 10-hour streams.
Nice.
Right. Before we start the wrap up, Nao, any other questions from you that you might want to throw towards our guest?
Yeah, well, I was going to ask one thing, kind of as well myself, coming from the CS:GO scene. I can understand kind of the transition and what you were mentioning about abilities. But what do you think that Valorant needs to do as a game? Obviously, having played in CS:GO, which is a very, very established esport, right, and probably one that will last for at least a while longer. I mean, it's with a stable 1 million player base most days. I think it probably still has a bit of a lifespan. What do you think Valorant needs to do to kind of get that kind of stability in its esport the same way CS:GO does, and the kind of thing that Overwatch couldn't manage to do?
I think it will come with time.
Okay.
Solely because it's Riot who's managing Valorant, and they're doing such a great job in League of Legends.
Yeah.
And they're really listening to their content creators and their player base as well, and trying to fix what the players and the professionals and content creators comes with. Like, oh, there's this problem. Okay, we will try to fix it so it will be better.
Very true. Yeah, you see that in CS, like that just doesn't happen. It's like, you hate to say it, there's just no communication with Valve. But it's one of the brilliant things about Riot. They are so good. I mean, you see all the time. Even that clip I showed you earlier, the Cypher Cam, right? The head Riot dev replied under it saying thank you. So, like, I mean, they're so quick. So
they even credit people in the patch notes, like, oh, this person found
that's
this.
Always fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, I think that's going to more or less wrap up our show. So thank you, Felente, for being our guest today. Guys, if you haven't already, you can find us in our Twitter links. Right. Is this the right hand? Yes. Cameras do weird things. This is where you can find us. And of course, there's the rest of the socials in the bottom right corner there. And a reminder, everybody, this weekend is the Project Gap Season 3 Diamond Series. So Diamond teams heading off against one another. It's going to be exceptionally exciting. 2 p.m. CEST, Saturday and Sunday. And that's going to be on TTV/Project Gap, project with a K, _Valorant. So please do come check it out with us. It's going to be an absolute blast. Thank you for hanging out with us through this episode, and we will see you guys next week. Have a good one. We don't save. Although they're making stuff happen. They've already.
So long.
Okay.
Once you get just stop the assault. Timing as they peek heaven. Rolling Thunder is gonna be coming out as Melon pushing up. No. Counting the 3 and 9 from the back.